Just imagine. For 7 years, you think that someone close to you is out there somewhere living their life, maybe building a career, a family, or you simply don't know where they are or what happened to them. Yet you wait for their return every day and believe everything is fine with them. Then suddenly it turns out that this whole time that person was right nearby, less than a kilometer from your home. Their body had been sealed inside the chimney of an abandoned cabin. But you have no idea when, why, or how it happened. For the heroes of this video, there is unfortunately nothing to imagine, since this is their reality. Today will be an extremely interesting, terrifying, and mysterious story of the disappearance of Joshua Maddox. Was it an accident, or did someone help the boy end up in that chimney? Sit back comfortably, my dears. We'll figure it out together. This is terrifying. May 8th, 2008 was a sunny and warm day. Joshua woke up early, had breakfast with his family, and looked calm, even cheerful. The boy took his guitar and notebook and headed in the direction of the forest. He promised to return by dinner, but when night fell and Joshua still hadn't appeared, the family began to worry. His father called his friends, but nobody had seen him that day. Joshua, one day I woke up, he said, and saw Josh. And then he just never came home. The next day, he left the same way. Didn't come home. I called his friends. Nobody had seen him. Nobody knew where he was. However, the family didn't contact the police until the 5th day after his disappearance. Why so late? Well, at first, the family believed he had simply moved to another city. His sister Kate even wrote in a Facebook post that since Josh had turned 18, it was entirely logical to assume he might have decided to leave town to start a new life. As one of his 2 older sisters, I always thought that's what it was. I expected Josh to come back home to my father's house at any moment, with a wife and small children so they could meet their grandparents and 2 aunts. Anyway, police began the search. Several search groups were organized, which were joined by volunteers, friends, and neighbors. They combed the forest, checked abandoned buildings, questioned local residents. In short, did everything to find the boy, or at least something that would point to where he might be found. Unfortunately, the search yielded no results. There were no traces, no evidence pointing to Joshua's whereabouts. Police considered various theories: accident, runaway, even possible abduction. But since there was no evidence to support any version, police couldn't move forward. Days passed, then weeks, then months. The family tried to hold on, hoping for the best. They believed Joshua was alive and had simply decided to start a new life. Michael, the father, kept the house unchanged. Joshua's room remained exactly as it was on the day of his disappearance. His notebook with notes still lay on the desk. His sisters wrote him letters which remained on the table, hoping that one day he would read them. Not far from the Maddox home stood an abandoned cabin known as Thunderhead Ranch. Once it had been a popular gambling hall and gathering place for local residents and tourists in the 1960s and 70s. Famous musicians performed there, parties and dances were held. But over time, the place's popularity faded, and the building was abandoned. The windows were broken, and it looked generally like something from a haunted estate. Local children would sometimes dare to sneak inside looking for adventure. The cabin's owner was Chuck Murphy, a local businessman. He rarely visited and was planning to demolish the building altogether to build something new in its place. It was damp there and smelled like hell, with raccoon droppings everywhere. On August the 12th, 2015, Chuck Murphy finally decided to demolish the old cabin. He hired a crew of workers who began dismantling the building. During the demolition of the chimney, one of the workers noticed something strange inside, approximately at head height. From the ground, he saw the remains of a human body. Chuck Murphy immediately called the police. The scene was cordoned off and an investigation began. Following dental examination, it was confirmed that this was the body of Joshua Maddox. But my dears, to understand the situation a little better, we need to go back to the very beginning. Who was Joshua Maddox? So, Joshua Vernon Maddox was born on the 9th of March 1990 in the small town of Woodland Park, Colorado. It's a cozy and friendly little town where everyone knows each other by name, literally. Neighbors greet each other on the streets, children play together, and in the evenings, families gather by fireplaces telling stories about how the day went. Joshua was the youngest of 4 children in Michael Maddox's family. He had 2 older sisters, Ruth and Kate, and 1 older brother, Zachary. From early childhood, Josh showed extraordinary talents and interests. He was a curious and sharp-witted boy with a keen mind and a creative approach to life in general. Joshua loved music and art. At the age of 7, he first picked up a guitar given to him by his father for his birthday, and from that moment, music became an inseparable part of his life. He taught himself to play, imitating his favorite musicians, and soon even began composing his own songs. He was my best friend and always inspired me to strive for greatness. Josh told me to never say anything bad about others, ever. I tried to be like him. Josh was one of the best people I ever met, and I'm so proud to be his sister. Besides music, Joshua was passionate about writing. He wrote poems, short stories, and dreamed of one day publishing his own novel. Even his lyrics, by the way, were quite deep, filled with reflections on life, love, and the meaning of existence. He wrote well beyond his years, let's say. The Maddox home was located just a few minutes' walk from Pike National Forest. The forest became a second home for Joshua. He loved wandering the trails, exploring new places, photographing nature, and drawing inspiration for his works. The Maddox family was warm and close-knit. Their home was a place where laughter, music, and love always prevailed. Father Michael worked as an architect, and Mother, Sarah, was an elementary school teacher. They always supported their children in their endeavors and encouraged their talents and dreams. Zachary, the older brother, was for Joshua an example and a mentor. They spent a lot of time together discussing books, music, and philosophy. Zachary taught Joshua to play guitar and shared his knowledge and experience about everything he knew. The Maddox family often held family evenings where everyone could share their successes and worries. These moments were special for everyone, but then the idyll came to an end. In 2006, the family was struck by a terrible tragedy. Zachary, who was 21 at the time, took his own life. Nobody had noticed any signs of depression or problems with this young man. This event was a shock to the entire family and the town as a whole. And I remind you, everyone knew each other there, so this was shocking news. For Joshua, the loss of his brother was especially painful. He lost not just a brother, but his best friend and mentor. After Zachary's death, Josh became more withdrawn and often spent time alone, lost in his own thoughts. The family tried to support one another during this difficult time. They visited a psychologist, spent more time together, and tried to talk about their feelings, to leave nothing unsaid. That was actually a good decision. After the tragedy, Joshua began to focus more on creativity. Music became for him a way to express his feelings, pain, and thoughts, exactly how he felt. Josh was also passionate about philosophy, as I mentioned, and psychology. He began reading even more works by famous thinkers, seeking to understand why people do certain things, how to help those who suffer, morally, spiritually, if you will, and physically. So let's return to 2015 when Joshua Maddox's dead body was found. The news that Joshua's body had been found spread quickly through the town. The family was stunned. And not just them, the whole town was too. Friends and neighbors came to the family to express condolences, trying to support them during this difficult time. The circumstances of Joshua's death raised many questions and doubts. First, he was dressed only in a thermal shirt. All his other clothing, t-shirt, jeans, underwear, socks, was neatly folded in a room by the fireplace inside the cabin. This meant he was likely inside the building before ending up in the chimney. Second, the exit from the chimney inside the building was blocked by a heavy cabinet that had been pulled away from the kitchen wall. This made exiting the chimney into the building impossible. Third, Chuck Murphy claimed that a steel grate had been installed on the top part of the chimney to prevent animals from getting in. These facts cast doubt on the accident theory. Police conducted a detailed investigation. The medical examiner determined that there were no signs of violent death on Joshua's body. No broken bones, no stab or gunshot wounds. Toxicological analysis found no drugs or alcohol in his system. The official version was that Joshua had climbed onto the cabin roof himself and tried to descend through the chimney, possibly seeking adventure or shelter. Getting stuck, he was unable to get out and died of hypothermia or compression asphyxia. However, many people disagreed with this. Joshua's family and many town residents didn't believe the official version. They felt that the circumstances of death were too strange to be accidental. Some experts also voiced their doubts. Forensic professor Dr. Michael Stevens noted, "This boy could not have climbed inside the chimney on his own. In my opinion, Maddox was forced in there. He did not descend the chimney." During the investigation, police received several calls from local residents pointing to the possible involvement in the case of a young man named Andrew Richard Newman. Andrew was an acquaintance of Joshua's. They attended the same school and shared common interests in music. In my senior years, I went to school with a lanky hippie named Andy who played guitar in a band. We were never close friends, but about a year after my graduation, one of my good friends, Josh, started hanging out with him and then went missing. The last thing I heard was Andy telling another friend, "Yeah, Josh and I are spending a lot of time together. We're planning a trip to New Mexico." I didn't think much of it until someone showed me these articles. Andrew was known for his eccentric behavior and run-ins with the law. After Joshua's disappearance, Andrew left town and was arrested in 2009 for murder in Albuquerque, New Mexico. He simply stabbed a disabled man. During questioning, he confessed to this crime and hinted at possible involvement in other crimes. Joshua's friends recalled seeing him with Andrew shortly before his disappearance. The Josh who went missing was last seen with Andy, who is a murderer. Maybe you should look into that. Some people recalled that Andrew boasted about knowing what happened to Joshua. However, police couldn't find enough evidence to link Andrew to Joshua's death. The Maddox family was dissatisfied with the police's work. They felt the investigation had been conducted superficially and many details had simply been ignored. Local journalists began their own investigation, trying to uncover the truth. Despite all efforts, the case remained unsolved. Many questions remained unanswered. How did Joshua end up in the chimney? Why was his clothing neatly folded inside the cabin? How could he have climbed into the chimney if a steel grate was on top? Who blocked the chimney exit from the inside? These questions continue to trouble the family and community. In Joshua's memory, a memorial bench was installed in a park in town, the very place where he loved to play guitar. Every year, a concert is held in his honor, where local musicians perform, playing his songs. Joshua's family founded the Joshua Maddox Foundation to support young talents in the field of music and the arts. It actively participates in community programs aimed at supporting youth, preventing suicide, and raising awareness about mental health. Despite the immense loss, Joshua's family continues to live, keeping his memory in their hearts. They hope that one day the truth about his death will be revealed. If you have any ideas and thoughts about what might have happened to this boy Joshua, I'd love to read them in the comments. That's how it is today, my dears. Thank you for watching this video to the end. Take care of yourselves, your family, and loved ones. See you tomorrow at 8 p.m.